Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to Heiko's Garage.
Yeah.
Today is Airhead Beamer story time. Last week was a great week. I had some visitors from Germany. They flew into San Francisco, rented a F750 GS and an F850 GS, and then they rode up to Lake Tahoe, and then we planned 3 days of motorcycle riding. We had to contend with some smoky conditions due to some forest fires in the area. First day was pretty bad, pretty smoky, so we only did a short trip, a couple mountain passes, and then I showed him some touristy spots, and then we went home. And then on the second day we did some riding a little bit longer. I think we put on 240 miles or so. We went to a ghost town in California, and we had a good time. Only got a little bit of rain, so no big deal. Was really enjoyable. Third day, weather cleared up, blue sky, sunshine, no smoke anymore, and we went around Lake Tahoe, which on a Wednesday was actually perfect, not much traffic. We stopped at a couple of cool spots to take a peek at the lake, and a really enjoyable time with those two guys. So Hans, if you see this, Hans and Julian, was really nice riding with you guys. So then the 3 days of riding came to an end, and I had to go back to work. And then suddenly I got an email from a fellow Airhead enthusiast. So what is an Airhead? It's a BMW motorcycle with an air-cooled 2-cylinder boxer engine. Those motorcycles are lovingly referred to Airheads because they're air-cooled, they're not water-cooled, they're not oil-cooled. It's just this whole generation of BMW motorcycles. Very classic design. Mine is a 1974 R90, and I was riding this thing, didn't miss a beat. I had enough power to, even outpace some more modern motorcycles. So I got an email from this fellow Airhead enthusiast that was here at my house last year during one of the Airhead Beamer Club Northern Nevada chapter's tech days. So I host one of those tech days once a year. This year it's going to be the third year running, I think. Third year, yeah. And he told me that he has a R100/7, which is a little newer than my motorcycle. It's only 4 years younger. I think this one here is a 1978. He told me that he had owned this motorcycle for 12 years and that it's been really reliable, that he loves it, but he was riding it a few days ago and that he broke down with a broken transmission. The transmission, actually, it's really reliable. It's very sturdy too. They usually don't have really many problems with transmissions, but there is this one spring that controls a shifting paw. And this shifting paw, when the spring that supports the shifting paw breaks, you cannot change gears anymore. So whatever gear you are in, you're going to be stuck in. He was stuck in second gear. He managed to ride it home that way. And I guess that is already the second time that happened to him during his ownership of this 1978 R100. And he decided he had enough. He doesn't want to go through the repair again. And he asked me if I wanted it. First, I wasn't sure what he meant with that. So I sent him an email asking, so you want me to repair it for you, or you want to sell it? Or what do you mean with you want it? So he literally offered me the motorcycle for free. And then I think a day later or 2 days later, we met up at my house. He brought the bike on a trailer, bunch of extra parts. He brought the title. He signed the title over to me. I have the title for the bike now. So now I'm the proud owner of an R100/7, which is, like I said, it's the next generation after my R90/6. Minor changes, bigger tank, bigger engine. I mean, it's 100 cc's more. So I have a 900 cc motor and this is a 1000 cc motor. Surprisingly, it doesn't put out more power. A little bit different carburation, and the transmission is the same. The suspension is more or less the same frame. Lots of parts interchange, even from the older to the newer. So he literally gave me the motorcycle, and I was completely like, I was stumped. I was like, I didn't even know what to say. I don't know how many times I said thank you to the guy, but so he brought it over, and it's you know, it's a motorcycle in a little bit different style. So he customized it to his own liking, and you know, I'm full in support of that. People always argue about, you know, you got to keep it stock there, only original once, but after all, it's your property and you can do whatever you want. You know, if you want to paint your house pink, nobody's going to stop you. Maybe your HOA is going to say something about it. But yeah, of course, people modify motorcycles all the time. He did it in a very artistic way, let me say it. He didn't really modify the underlying structure of the motorcycle, which is highly appreciated. So there was no welding done, there was no cutting done. But let me stop the rambling. Let me turn the camera around, and then we're going to actually take a look at the motorcycle so you guys get an idea, and you can also see how clean this thing really is. So here's my R100/7. So here it is. This is the Cigar 100/7. I guess this fellow Airhead enthusiast is from Sacramento. That's why he has a Sacramento underneath. As you can see, this motorcycle looks pretty different from my R90, which, you know, just to give you a contrast, this is more like the stock appearance with the Krauser cases. Really not much modification. You know, of course, it's not the original color. Flat black and blue, you know, mismatch, but it's more or less stock in its appearance at least. And he has his own taste. He went ahead and modified this motorcycle quite significantly. So where do we start? Let's start with the overall appearance and his kind of race style decorations here on the tank with flames, a bunch of stickers. Then this is actually, it seems like it's an aluminum sign that he put over. Usually they have BMW R100/7 on here. Some later models only have BMW here on the engine case. So he decorated that. Then here a Butler and Smith, Brooklyn, New York sign on the side. You can see some toolboxes. These are toolboxes. There's another one on the other side. These are from Harley Davidson, and he just put those onto the mounting points for the passenger foot pegs. So with this setup, you can't really take a passenger unless the passenger put their feet onto the toolbox. But yeah, he just adapted those. Then he has a Harley Davidson rear fender, which is mostly metal. Here's the side panels, maybe that's metal too. So steel fenders that he adapted, and they actually fit the bike really well, and they are a little bit slimmer in appearance than the original fiberglass fender. Same with the front. This is also Harley Davidson, and this is proper sheet metal instead of fiberglass. Here's the original. He gave me that as well, and he had one of those British style. Yeah, I guess even in Germany back before the World War II, they had vertical license plates on the front fender, which then eventually fell out of favor because it was a concern for pedestrian injuries if you ever run into someone. So they don't do that in Europe anymore. I don't think there's any place that still requires this. But yeah, it was a thing back in the days. So here's the original fiberglass fender, and here's a Harley Davidson fender, and he also raised the fender a little bit so he could put some knobbies on it. These are some Shinko trail tire in, it's actually a imperial size tire. I think it's a 3.5 by 19, so it's almost original size. Then he has some painted heat shields here on the exhaust. He has the horn. I mean, they originally have a Fiamma or a Hella horn on each side. He just painted it. You can see the subframe is painted, and he carries through this paint scheme or this color scheme. He has some flames here on the rear swing arm. The front fork is painted in red. We have some hand guards, brush guards that you usually find on dirt bikes or enduros. These are made by, I want to say Meyer. Yeah, Meyer Manufacturing Company. It's actually not uncommon to find hand guards on those old BMW Airheads, because before the GS models came out, the R80 GS or the R100 GS, they were really no adventure bikes. So these bikes, those road bikes here, they were the adventure bikes of the 1970s. So people would put knobby tires on it. They would modify them to be able to go down gravel roads. So this was not uncommon to see bikes slightly modified for the rider to be able to go into the woods with them. So it's not uncommon to even find hand guards on those bikes. I've seen an article about a couple that went to the Baja California. They were riding off-road, more or less, not off-road, but like gravel roads and dirt roads in Mexico. And they also put hand guards on, because that's, you know, if you have someone riding in front of you and they kick up some rocks and the rocks hit your finger, that's an emergency, you know. So hand guards are pretty good, pretty helpful. So yeah, overall a very different style than what you would usually see on those vintage bikes. Here in the rear, this is supposedly a taillight off of another BMW and Slash 2, much older, from the 50s. I have to look into this. It definitely has a Hella branding on it. Hella is a German manufacturer, so this potentially could be a Slash 2 taillight that he put on here. And then mud flaps. Overall, I gotta say, considering the broken spring in the transmission, which keeps me from shifting gears, the engine is in really remarkable clean conditions. He told me that the bike just recently had a top-end refresh with new gaskets, new pushrod seals. The pushrod seals are right under here, under the cylinder. And they are rubber seals. They will eventually perish, start cracking, and then you have an oil leak. And so this engine is really remarkably clean. Branding on it, it's definitely not a BMW made product. He also modified the seat so you can take it off. It's not hinged anymore. Usually the seat would have two hinges. I did the same modification on my bike. You can just take it off, more access to your battery and to your toolbox. I carry tools underneath the seat. He just has an extra tube or two. And that's where the battery lives down here. Even the battery carrier is painted. So that went along with his style of modifying the bike. Let's carry you around a little bit here to get some good looks. This here, it seems like it's a vent line. I haven't looked under the tank. So my Slash 6 doesn't have any venting other than through the filler cap. I remember that the Slash 7s and the newer models, they have a very elaborate venting system under the tank. So I'm assuming this is what this is for. Have crash bars on here. He has highway pegs, at least on one side. On the other side, it's missing. We have some additional lighting. He told me that it's not hooked up. Oh yeah, here you can see the wires sticking out. These are LED lights. It says really bright, but not hooked up. Yeah, crash bars. They were kind of standard. A lot of bikes have those. And then he put the highway pegs on there. Looks like he got a brand new crossover pipe here. I wonder why there is a hose clamp on it, because usually the crossover pipe has its own clamping mechanism. Interesting. Good question. So yeah, overall the engine is really clean. Yeah, he told me it was resealed recently, so there's not much of leakage going on. Made in West Germany sticker right next to the frame number here. I haven't looked under the tank. I can see that there are foam pieces stuck in places. There is a foam piece right under the battery. I wonder what that is all about. We're going to definitely remove that and make sure. The battery carrier is rubber mounted. There are little rubber isolator blocks that go between the battery carrier and the frame to keep the vibration out of the battery. And maybe they have perished and collapsed a little bit, but you can still get those. I will definitely make sure that everything is on the up and up. I can also see some wire modification. Here is an inline fuse that doesn't belong there necessarily, and it goes into the headlight bucket. Here now another pretty interesting feature. So first of all, he put two huge utility lights. Let's see, it says SAE motorcycle. Not the reflectors, but the glass, the lens is sideways. They should be mounted upright. So this is bottom and this is the top. It even says top here. They should be turned inside the fixture. And then this part here, which is painted in gray, is actually an old motorcycle helmet that he modified and turned into a kind of a fairing. Actually pretty interesting, and he just used the chin strap to put it on here. Drilled a couple holes through it so the key on the side would fit through. Very interesting, very interesting. Of course, we will eventually have to disassemble this bike, and then as I will kind of do a mild restoration, replace the broken stuff, fix all the wiring, make sure that all the controls work. As you can see, he even did like rally stripes on the controls and stickers. And then we have this dash pad here, which is definitely not off of a /7. This is off of some other BMW, but it fits. I don't know if maybe the R80 or R100 had one of those, or maybe the RT model. So there's even locations where you can put extra switches. Here's the switch location. Here's one. Oh, I don't even know if you guys can see. Yeah. So this does not belong to the /7, but it was just his style of modifying. These clamps here for the handlebars are not original BMW either. They don't even fit the shape here. I don't know what's going on there. Of course, when it comes to safety, handlebar, suspension, brakes, and that kind of stuff, I don't make any compromises. I rather go to the original design, or, you know, I go back to proven methods. And yeah, these clamps here, I don't know exactly. It seems to be lining up, but that is a little too risky for me. So I have replacement parts. The top caps of the forks here, they don't look original either. There are two different ones here too. So I don't know. We'll definitely have to sort this out. I will definitely look into the forks and the top caps here. Make sure that suspension-wise this bike is all on the up and up. Oh yeah, those two utility lights here on the side, they're not hooked up either. So they look good, but they don't provide any extra light. He has a horn on here, which is pretty cool. We can already tell that the tachometer is an electronic one. Yeah, like this, high beam Fernlicht. It's broken. It's sitting at 2000 RPM. He says there is a little bit of some life left in there. Something is moving, but we definitely have to take this apart. Then the tachometer, no, yeah, this is the tachometer. The speedometer is sitting at some 65,000. Kind of the numbers are all jumbled. There's definitely something going on. This is mechanical, driven by a cable coming here from the final drive, or no, from the output shaft of the transmission, I should say. And as you can see, needle all bent, mangled. I don't know if we're going to be able to save this needle. We probably have to find a replacement. This will also have to completely come apart. Here is cable sticking out, and I'm assuming this goes to the clutch safety switch, which is over here. It's not hooked up. That's why, since it's stuck in second gear, I can't start it up without bypassing the neutral safety switch, which is down in the transmission. But that's not going to be a big problem. We're just going to fix this or bypass it. Yeah, so that's this side. Here, one more look at the rear view with a Harley fender, the R50/2 or R51/2 taillight. The turn signals narrowed, mounted completely differently. And I really like the little splash guard here. Stock exhaust, I've noticed they are not identical. They look a little different. I measured the inside diameter. This one here is a little smaller, so this might be an issue. We might have to figure out where I can get a matching one for, you know, take this one and find a matching one for over here, or use this one. And you know, you definitely don't want to have a different kind of restriction on the cylinders. You want them to have the exact same exhaust system. Down here on the push-pull for the rear brake, he put a handle of a old golf club on there to make it look prettier. Overall, it looks really straight and clean. The suspension is Progressive suspension branded shocks. These are not the originals. Over here we have another Harley Davidson toolbox. There is a rubber piece wrapped around his shifter is all worn out and boogered out, but that's not a problem. That can all be replaced. So you can't shift any gears. It feels like it's not connected to anything, and that's because of the shift paw. What do we have sticking out of here? Oh, I see. So this here is the opening that you use for the ignition timing, and you usually just find a round rubber plug in here. I guess he lost it and he just used a piece of hose that fits in there. Fuel lines, carburation. Those are 32 millimeter Bings. Oh, that's surprising. So 1000cc uses the same 32 millimeter Bings that I have on my R90. Interesting. Yeah, overall, all the bits and pieces are here. This seems to be not installed correctly. I think it goes the other way around. But there were so many different versions of the intake runners over the years, and then people get them mixed up. And then they don't fit really well. Then they make the hose here in the front too long, and then it doesn't fit back here anymore. But overall, I gotta say the engine is really surprisingly clean. Oh, I think the spring here is not installed correctly. There are two. So you have the kickstand, if I can get it out of its... Oh my goodness, that's tight. Yeah! Oh my goodness gracious. So the kickstand... There is a sheet metal spring that's supposed to hold it in place, but something is not working here. So I guess when it's on the center stand, maybe the center stand is bent a little bit, or the pivot points are a little wallowed out, but the kickstand is held in position by the center stand, so I can't pull it out. Then I also noticed some chicken wire under the tank here to keep the rodents out of the engine case, I'm assuming. And there is a rubber hood that sits on the air intake here, and that seems like it's modified. I'm also looking at the ignition coils. There are two different colors, one silver, one blue. That looks like It's not original BMW, that's for sure. And they're not mounted in the stock location as far as I can tell. So that will have to get investigated. Here's a mounting point for the second horn. Nothing on there. We're missing the steering damper altogether. So usually you have a steering damper sticking out like a mechanism here, and then a little pneumatic hydraulic cylinder, like a little damper sticking out that hooks up to the frame. That's missing. I'm not sure if they still use that when the R100/7 came out. So then this cap is incorrect too, because you would have a adjustment knob up here. Not sure. This might be the slight differences between that one over there and this one here, that maybe the R100 didn't have that anymore. Not sure. I'm pretty sure it did have it, because my friend from Germany has a R100/7 and his does have the handle. The single rotor disc brake here in the front with a ATE swing calipers, that's the same as on mine. I have the dual version in the front. We might do that here too. It's a little harder to find the fork slider over there with a brake caliper mount. Pretty hard to find. It's kind of like a unicorn. So yeah, overall, other than the broken transmission and a couple questionable parts that I'm not sure that they are correct, and this is clearly not original. Overall, pretty good shape. And we're gonna take it slow with this one here. First of all, I'm always busy with working on my house, but I also, want to check out everything. We're gonna get the rear suspension out, the swing arm out, and then remove the transmission sooner or later and open that one up. It's really not that big of a deal. So you have to take the swing arm pivots out and then disconnect the drive shaft. Then you can move the entire rear suspension out of the way. I'm probably just going to take the rear wheel out, take the shocks out, remove the whole thing. That allows me to really take a look at everything. Yeah, it really looks like maybe the rubber mounts for the battery are bad. That's why there are these pipe insulation pieces in here that are definitely not part of this motorcycle, and they're gonna go the way of the dodo for sure. But yeah, here's a little bit of some smear. So this is the timing cover. Under this cover is where you find the timing chain. Yeah, and we have a lot of questionable wiring with like crimps and long extension cables. He told me that petcocks are reversed, so reserve is normal and on, or the normal position is reserve. We're gonna change that for sure. Yeah, there has been some painting and some pinstriping going on, but all the big chunky parts, the final drive for example, I don't see any leakages. It's really dry. Maybe it is dry, maybe there's no oil in it. Engine is really dry. I kind of want to take the tank off. Do you guys want to hang out with me and see taking the tank off? I want to kind of look under there and see what hidden gems are under there. Let's pause you real quick. I'll take the fuel lines off and then we take the tank off. All right, let's see. Oh, it's not very full. That's good. So front and rear, and there is the vent line. Yeah, this tank seems to have one vent line there at the bottom. That's where that red line is hooked up to. Yeah, half a tank maybe. Let's put this somewhere safe. You can always put it on like a little stool or on a 5-gallon bucket out of the way. So The mounting location is like on my R90 here, but this is a super coil. It's a 6 volt and a 6 volt, and they are different part number. No, they are the same part number. One is silver, one is blue. So these are from the VW catalog. I've seen Euromotor Electrics, they sell brackets that fit those 6 volt VW coils. The 6 volt coils used on cars are a little thicker in diameter. Here, I can even show you this. I just replaced my old 6 volt coils with a dual tower or dual post single coil mounted on this side. So here's a 6 volt coil from a old VW, and this is a 6 volt coil from BMW. You can see the size difference, and also the diameter is different. They are both made by Bosch. I would say, yeah, this is a Bosch and this is a Bosch. Just the dimensions are different. And they also say that the VW coils maybe have a little bit more juice. They probably have a few more windings in there, so they can put out a little bit higher spark voltage. But you have to use different brackets. And I even have brand new ones from Euromotor Electrics that you can use for those VW coils. So the original brackets, where is it? Here we go. It just looks a little different. Like I said, the diameter is a little different. And then the coils, yeah, it just appeared a little differently. So, and then, like I said, we have the chicken wire to keep the rodents out. We definitely will have to remove this. I have no rodents in my garage. I will also make sure there's usually a plastic little grit piece in here. Maybe this was removed. We'll definitely take a look under there. This is where the starter lives and where some of the electrical connections are made. Let's see what other unusual things we can find. Here, let me get you a little closer. So we still have the under tank brake master cylinder. It looks a little on the corroded side here, but let's see, is the fluid? Yeah, fluid is in. I don't see anything wet here, so that's pretty promising. There's something sticking out of the rear here, out of the rubber cover. Let's take that off real quick. I don't know, that's definitely not on my R90. I don't know why we have that stuck in there. This really looks like a piece of a spray can. Maybe he wanted that as a extension for the drain. There's a drain hole at the bottom. Looks really dry, I gotta say. It's adjustable, so really the free play of the master cylinder cable here is adjusted here, not on the handlebar. And they make a tool that's like a fork that slides right here into this groove. It's kind of a feeler gauge specifically for the brake. The terminals here are a little boogered up. This will need to have to be addressed. This is the brake fluid low indication. And then we have the brake switch for the brake lights. It's a pressure switch here on the front of the master cylinder. So overall, this looks actually pretty good. You can port the master cylinder for 2 brake lines. This is what I did when I converted my bike to a dual brake rotor in the front. I got this drilled and ported for another brake line. So that worked really well. There's a little bit of some, what's this plastic piece here? Is this a zip tie or what? Yeah, zip tie and some, there's a rubber boot missing that goes over this here and the zip tie. Here, this is the voltage regulator for the charging system. There's some sort of reusable zip tie on there. Let's put this back on here for now. So a little goobered up underneath there. Maybe he had a leak in the past and then fixed it. It's really not that hard. If you like every 5 years you redo your master cylinder, put new seals in there, you should be good. What kills those master cylinders is corrosion on the inside. You have old brake fluid in there, and the old brake fluid is hygroscopical. It collects moisture. Here's all those little foam pieces that he stuck in between things. Maybe so the tank doesn't touch the frame. But that's maybe because his rubber perch here, this rubber bumper, is all perished. You might have to, and his brake line is not going where it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be inside the frame, not outside. And this brake line looks really old. Maybe it's just discolored, but yeah, we're definitely gonna look at a few things and maybe replace them just to make sure. Everything else looks pretty good. So yeah, as long as you change your brake fluid regularly, I would say once a year. Maybe that's overdoing it, but I would do that once a year or once every 2 years. And then putting some new seals in here is not really hard either. So only because of old brake fluid and condensation that collects in the brake fluid will eventually corrode out this cast iron or cast steel master cylinder. And then you have to get it sleeved on the inside and fixed. If you do more preventive maintenance, you can maybe keep that from happening. So here's the clutch cable. The clutch is moving freely. There's some rubber grommets missing. Yeah, and the clutch switch that's in here. I might even have one of those lying around somewhere, because when I bought my R90, I had so many extra parts with it that didn't even belong to my bike. Yeah, some little bit of some differences here, even in the frame, I would say. I would say there is a slight difference. I might be mistaken. Yeah, the frame is different. So I just looked. Here's a cross member. I don't even know if you guys see. So here you have a cross member, and here you have a cross member, and then it goes into a tube running this way and the big major tube up here. So this cross member does not exist on my R90. Yeah, let's go over there. Here's one cross member that goes into this horizontal tube, and then the second one is not there. So that's pretty interesting. They probably noticed that there's a little bit too much flexing going on. And I'm really not sure. There's a plastic cap in here. So maybe this bike did not come with, whatchamacallit. Oh yeah, steering damper, that's the word. Steering damper. And I kind of want to look underneath this motorcycle helmet contraption, because usually in there is a aluminum plaque on it with a frame number stamped into it. I don't know if that was still a thing in 1978. It definitely was on my other bike in 1974. So let's take this homemade motorcycle helmet fairing off, if I can, with one hand. Here we go. Let's take the key out of the way. The key is also different. It's a folding key. See that? Take the finger away from the camera lens, maybe. So let's try to take this off. There you go. This is pretty interesting. That is pretty interesting. So let's park this over here real quick. So the headlight bucket is similar. There's some grommets missing. There's definitely rainwater going into this headlight bucket, which is not good. You don't want to ride this in the rain with that open. You're going to have a short circuit and maybe an electrical fire before you know it. He also told me that the arms here that hold the headlight bucket, they are broken, cracked, because of the extra drilled holes for the lights here. We'll have to find new ones, or, you know, it's steel, you can weld that stuff. So we can maybe weld and maybe put a little doubler on the back side, or maybe even braze it. We can braze this thing. Main harness going in here. The blinker wiring left and right. It's still there. There's a hole in the blinker. And there's a hole in the blinker. That's not stock either. I wonder what the story is about that. We definitely want to replace that. These are BMW mirrors. At least there's a BMW on it. I don't know if they're stock to this bike. I don't know. The handlebar does not look BMW-esque because usually they have a serration here in the middle to give it more grip. It's also really easy on those bikes to move the master cylinder from under the tank to above on the handlebar, which is an improvement. It doesn't look as good, but I think on newer models of the /7 series they actually did that, so you had the reservoir up here. Here's definitely, I don't know if it's missing this little plastic grid that's going in there, or, oh, here's a relay on the side. That's definitely not existing on my R90 either. This is mounted with a strap. Usually they use big rubber O-rings. So this is different. We'll have to sort this out. I also have a battery carrier in case this is broken or anything. I also have a rear fender. What I don't have is the arm that holds the turn signals and the proper rear light or rear brake light, tail light thing. The front fender here, it uses the original fork brace, which is stamped stainless, but he put some extensions on there to raise it up a little more to keep the rubber from the tire from rubbing. So we'll definitely have to figure out some stuff here, especially the wiring. Here's the starter relay. This is different than on my R90, and the master cylinder is a little too far forward for my taste. And there are a few connectors here where I might question if they are original. This is going to, looks like the clutch safety up here. I'm pulling on this broken off wire up there. The coil wiring, we'll have to look at that. The grounding point, that's normal. Usually the main wiring harness is not running here on the outside, but it's in between the coils. We'll see if we can make that happen. Here is a big old connector that doesn't exist on my R90. Yeah, I can smell some fuel, like rotten fuel, but the bike supposedly runs. I haven't seen it or heard it running yet. That's gonna be our next project. We're gonna be trying to make this thing run. So we first have to figure out how to disconnect the neutral safety so we can actually start it with it being in gear, pulling the clutch, of course. And then we're going to have it run and see. I also want to see here on the here's some oil coming out of the exhaust. Need to see the mufflers. It's possible that one is maybe an original BMW part and the other one is an aftermarket, and that's why they are slightly different. Even the end cone shape here is a little different. So one could potentially have some BMW part number stamping on it, and one is a Chinese knockoff. Not 100% sure. The header pipes, they actually look pretty good. They definitely look newer than what I have on my R90. Yeah, the crash bars have seen a little bit of some use, I guess. But yeah, overall, you know, a couple little modifications. I don't like this cloth braided wire here in the bike. When stuff looks like this, I always be reminded of like the 1960s. Where does that go? It comes from the horn. The horn, and then it goes here and goes back into the wiring harness, and there's some electric tape. Some electric tape here. That's definitely something that we're going to be fixing. That's for sure. You see a little bit of some corrosion happening here under the master cylinder. So we're definitely going to have to fix a few more things than I thought. Overall, the wiring harness doesn't look too butchered. There is a little bit of some butchery going on back here with lots of terminals. Even if we leave the blinkers on there, we'll get rid of the crimp connections and solder and shrink tube. And then wherever there is a wire going through metal, we'll have to have some grommets in there. But the mounting of this fender is actually done surprisingly well. It uses the original mounting points, just with some spacers here also. So I'm pretty impressed with that fender. You know, not bad. Lots of stickers everywhere. Speed metal. Oh, and the swing arm. The swing arm is rubbing. Oh, this looks, I don't know, is the swing arm bent? It's rubbing on the perch here for the muffler and the passenger foot pegs. I'll just, look at this. I know there is some edge protector on it. Look at that. And now, let's turn this on. See that gap? My bike is dirty. We rode in the rain in Bodie, California. And here is absolutely zero. And I don't know if I take the edge protector off. Let's do that right now. Sorry guys, are we upside down? So if I pull this edge protector off, yeah, we have a little bit of some gap there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of some tension on it. It's also really awfully close to the muffler here, which pretty close on mine too. Very close. Very close. So rear is also knobby, but this is not a Shinko, that's something else. That is it's a Kenda in 4x18, so that's stock size, full on knobby. Yeah, this is gonna be disassembling, cleaning up, putting back together, and checking everything on the way. I'm not gonna open up the engine. I'm not gonna mess around with the drivetrain other than the transmission. I will definitely check out the clutch. I will definitely check out the input shaft spline, the drive shaft to the rear. It's gonna get new bolts. We're gonna check out some electrical doodads and things, and maybe even connect some. These here, they are very unobtrusive. Maybe we can hook them up. We're gonna mount the two proper horns that it's supposed to have. And then we're gonna go from there. And the fenders, really, if they don't flap in the breeze, and they seem to be pretty, maybe the front one could use some slight modification. Or I put the original on, but the other front tire will not fit the original fender. And then, yeah, and then for sure the headlight bucket. I mean, this here is definitely gonna go the way of the dodo. And there's gonna be a grommet, and who knows what this is. We're not doing that. If you need extra power, if you want extra power for accessories, always go to the battery. Hook it up to the battery, put an inline fuse back there somewhere, and then run it to your accessory or to your switch and then to your accessory. But don't hook anything extra to the internal circuit board here in the headlight bucket, because the circuits in there are specifically made for only the accessories the bike came from the factory with. There's very little wiggle room electrical power wise. Those bikes are kind of underpowered on the electrical side anyway. So if you want to have heated grips or heated vest or extra lighting, lots of extra lighting, you better do a alternator upgrade. There are some really cool alternator upgrades to available these days from different companies. But yeah, don't hook up anything on the inside. Just go to the battery and make up your circuitry from there. All right, that's it. This is the gifted R100/7. As they say, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But since we got to make sure we're safe on the road, which, you know, brake-wise, drivetrain-wise, I have no doubt this is going to be just fine. Of course, I will check and verify everything and torque everything. Maybe I take the wheels out and grease the wheel bearings. And then maybe eventually there's going to be some more vintage normal tire sizes on there. The front tire is a little bit on the large side. But yeah, and the speed ratings, these are only P rated, which is 90 miles an hour, which is probably good enough. But an R100 definitely goes that fast, easily. Yeah, so this is the R100. You know, I'm telling you, this is a piece of art of someone who loved this bike over a really long period of time, put a lot of effort into it, but now he has just grown out of it and he wants to focus on other things. And he has a Harley Davidson now that he wants to ride more. And so he gave me this bike and I will treasure it. I will gently restore it. Not restore in terms of ripping everything apart and making it better than from factory, but restoring it technically. So the wiring is going to be done a little better, replacing worn out bits and pieces. So like a rolling restoration, a refurbishment. No, refurbishment is better than, you guys know what I'm saying, right? Okay. Anywho, that's about it for today. This is all I wanted to show you guys. And I know this video is already an hour long, so don't hold it against me. But I'm super grateful for my fellow Airhead to consider me to take over his Airhead and treasure it and maybe fix it. Here is some extension that I've never seen before. Here's a flat piece of steel that goes from the muffler / passenger foot pack mount to the front foot pack. Yeah, that's not stock. Yeah, and it's not connected here either. I wonder what happened there. I have a whole new setup, not new, but a different one. So if this is completely wallered out here, we can fix this. Either fix the one that's on here or put the one on that I have in my box of parts. So this is going to get some attention here pretty soon on this channel. So if you want to see more Airhead related content, Airhead simply by choice, come back to Heiko's garage and give me a thumbs up, please. Thank you. Take care. Bye. I completely forgot to mention the extra parts that he gave me. Here's a windjammer fairing that came with this bike apparently originally. It's all complete, even the lower sections of it. I have a couple 2-in-1 exhaust systems. One fits this one here, the 1978, and one doesn't. This here is a frame. This is a mounting frame for a BMW original fairing that they used to sell for these R100s. So this somehow, don't ask me how, was mounted on there. I really don't know how. I found it in the parts catalog on a BMW parts supply house. And the plexiglass, the insert, is not available anymore. So I've not seen it anywhere else but on the BMW, maxbmw.com actually, on the parts fish is this thing. But I have no idea how this would go on here. It's oh, yeah, hold on. Maybe something like that. Does it get mounted here on the top of the triple clamp? And then what do those things do? I have no idea, honestly. I have no idea. So maybe those clamps are actually used for this. So then we have a solo seat that was made out of the original seat pan from this bike. And then, yeah, and then of course we have this, maybe it's a Corbin, I don't know exactly. And a bit of exhaust and wiring and stuff. But this is really a cool free bike, I gotta say. I'm really excited about this. I'm not sure if the subframe here, it looks a little bent. It's kind of pointing down too far for my taste. I have a different subframe lying around from a R80 RT, and we might mount this on here. Here's some mounting brackets that I also don't know what they are from. Maybe they were for a saddlebag kind of case carrier, and he just left them on there. They're not mounted to anything. But yeah, the subframe looks a little bit on the droopy side. Or, you know, the... Yeah, let's compare. Yeah, well, the case is on, but mine is droopy as well. So I think this is just normal. So there is a little bit of a downward curvature here. And yeah, I think those brackets are left over of some sort of case carrier. I do have a set of frames for the cases here on the side, and those might fit this bike here as well. They might go on here. I'm not going to try to make this bike look like that bike. I'm actually thinking of, since this has a little bit more of a modified character, maybe keep it that way and put a little bit my own twist to it. I'm definitely going to do something about this bench seat. Even though those are supposedly really comfortable, they are also pretty ugly. So I don't think we're going to do anything with this thing. Nor am I a big fan of solo seat, especially if it would be a solo seat from a police motorcycle that BMW used to make. They were only this long. I might go with that and then put a rack here on the back. I would potentially do that to really have like a solo touring bike with the knobbies especially. And I might really stick with those fenders because they actually, you know, they fit the radius of the wheel pretty well. They are metal instead of fiberglass, which I'm a big fan of. Pretty solidly mounted. So we'll see. Alrighty guys, this is really it now. Bye.